Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my biography, my book entitled Life of a Humble Believer, Blessed by Destiny. I'd like to start to introduce to a blurb which was written by one of the priests at the church right here in New Jersey. The blurb says as follows: Carmelo Maselli, born to Italian parents, Carmelo Maselli enjoyed the love and affection of both parents and close relatives and friends. Carmelo's unlikely path from Italy to the United States of America began with an illegal act. His birth and consequently his love to contribute to human growth and development. Most of us are trying to put together the tangram puzzle we call a life without a very important piece. Over time, this becomes incredibly frustrating. Blessed by Destiny, Life of Humble Believer, is the story of a young man who is determined to leave a lasting impression and impact on the life of humanity. This young man grows into a restless person who struggles to find himself in a world where he was never supposed to exist. It is also a story of a young man's relationship with his frivolent religious mother, his loving wife who later turned their love into sour fruit, and the bond between a father and his wonderful children. The story collector are by turns hilarious, dramatic, and deeply affecting. Carmelo illuminates his curious world with an incisive wit and nonfiction honest. His story weave together to form a moving and strongly determined and focused portrait of a young man making his way through a damaged world in a dangerous time, armed only with a neat sense of humor and the mother a conventional and unconditional love. The story will help change the life of those who will have the chance of reading it. After this blurb done by Father Francis, I'd like to first describe how my story really began. It begins when I was age 11. Start out by picking prickle pear with my oldest brother, and when we returned home, we told the mother that we were picking prickle pear, and we ate all the prickle pear. She complained why we didn't bring her at least one prickle pear. So I, as the littlest brother, I said to the mother, I will go and pick some prickle pear for you. And I did that. I climbed the cactus pear with a ladder. And when it was time to come down from the cactus pear after picking the prickle pear, I slept on cactus pear peel, and I fell down flat on the ground, and I passed out in a way that I was flying up into the sky, and at that moment I was seeing a lot of butterfly, beautiful little birds, all kind of color birds, and in a very blue sky with no end of the blue. And all of a sudden, I see this little angel with this beautiful alley wings come close to me, and he comes close to me, and he say in Italian, non adesso, which means not now. And with his little hands, he put his little hands on top of my head and pushed me down. As pushed me down, I was going down, and I wake up, come back from the fall, and I realized that I was on the ground, but all the prickle pear, they were into the basket where I placed it. I didn't tell anybody about that little story, with the exception of my one of my teacher at the school, and she recommended me to keep a documentary of the events. I never kept a document of the events in writing, except in my mind, that as of today I still remember clear what happened. As the time went by, however, I was growing up, and I always grow up with a headache. And as I was telling one of my older brother that I was having a headache because he was starting to become a doctor, he was always kind of making fun of me and give me his recommendation that the best cure for the headache would be a hammer on my foot, and that will cure the headache. Keep growing old, and when I was close to the age of 18, I learned that one of my favorite uncle, his name was Uncle Guglielmo, he passed away of a way of killing himself. He hanged himself, and he passed away. That was a very sad thing for me to know. At age 18, I moved to United States. I left Italy and I moved to United States, exactly in Fort Lee, New Jersey. After a year and a half being in Fort Lee, New Jersey, I met this young lady that she was one of my co-workers, and she was a palm reader, and she asked me if she could read my palm. And when I handed my left hand, she got stuck on the thing that she visualized in my hand. She told me that I would have a 2 major stop in my life. I would have a long life, but with 2 major stops. And one, it was just about to happen, but she didn't tell me where, when, or what. She just stopped reading my hand and she left. She went back into the kitchen. A couple of weeks later, I was involved in a major car accident, and I suffered 2 broken legs, tibia and fibia bilateral. And as funny as it gets, while I was in a hospital for the first 3 weeks, the only thing that I heard was like, I could die any second, or in the worst case scenario, lose my legs. Against all the odds, after 3 weeks, I have both legs, and that they were amazing how fast the healing processing was coming back. Within 6 months, I was back to work and stuff like that. Even so, yes, I had to go for other surgery and stuff like that, but it was great coming back from the accident. A couple of years later, time goes by, and a few years later, I decided to open up a pizzeria on my own in Sparta, New Jersey, and I did that. After a couple of years, I decided that I want to get married, and the only person that I would like to marry would be an Italian person, because I want to make sure that the religious was the same. I went back to Italy on December 1988, and on a train I met this beautiful, lovely young lady. She was only 18 years old, and a year later I did marry that girl, and we had 2 children. But however, marriage was not the greatest, because I was very sick, and I was getting sick and sick every day, and not know what was causing the sickness. Until October 18, 1993, I went to a doctor in Morristown Memorial Hospital. And at the hospital, this doctor diagnosed me with a brain tumor. He diagnosed me with a brain tumor, which I couldn't understand why this happened to me. Why? It couldn't be possible to have a brain tumor. Not me, impossible. By thinking that it became a 7:30 in the night, and that thinking became an emergency. The pain was so intensive, and the tear from my eye that was so badly that I requested my wife if she could keep the children quiet, and I just wanted to take a nap, relaxing. Instead, she was so concerning that she decided to search in my pocket to see where I was the day that she didn't see me, and found the business card of my doctor where I was that day. She made a phone call, and I was instructed by the doctor to rush me to the hospital, which my friend Roberto and his brother Miguel, they rushed me to the hospital, and I got to the hospital. They couldn't do the surgery right away because the diabetes was so badly, they would have killed me. So they had to wait 3 days to do the surgery. The surgery was done by Dr. Richard Odash on October 21st, 1993. This was a pituitary gland tumor. While in hospital and me facing death or life, life or death, once I started talking, I asked Dr. Yusiskin, not if I would survive, but my main concern while I was in the hospital was if I was able to have any more children. Dr. Yusiskin replied that only a miracle could have given me a child. I kept those words ringing in my head for years. As of today, I still remember those words while he was sitting on a bed, say only a miracle could give you another child. Well, on August 1994, when I was facing the worst day of my life, when nothing else seems like to help me out, I could not even move, I couldn't walk, I could not even kiss my children goodnight, I couldn't kiss my wife, couldn't do nothing. I prayed the night, it was 1 o'clock in the night, and I prayed that I wish I was dead. Because if I was dead, at that time, my wife, she could have found another guy, another man, and this man could possibly give her a better life. But while I was thinking that, then I changed my thought. And while I was in this position, I said to myself, my God, who better than a father could take care of his own children? Because if I was dead and the other guy did not like my children, that would have been no good. So who better than me could take care of my own children? When I say that in my mind, I got stroke in my head, like if I felt my head, like if somebody hit me with a baseball bat, and I fall asleep. But yet, into my sleep, I was seeing everything in my room. I see the clock, I see the wall, I see the lights, I see my wife, I see everything. And at 1:13 a.m., my uncle Guglielmo, that I knew he himself, he came into the room. And when he came into the room surrounded by a white circle, I immediately tried to pull back and question him, what are you doing here? And he replied to me in Italian, non ti preoccupare, tu guarirai, which means, do not worry, you will be healed. And he stretched his elbow from the white circle and he touched me like this on my forehead, and instantly I started to get up to get close to him. It was the greatest feeling I see. After this, time goes by, and a lot of other things happen in my life. And one of the things that I always say to myself, I couldn't just get it out of my mind, was I should do something to say, thank you, God. But what can I possibly do to say thank you, God? Excuse me. One day, it just struck me. As I was driving from Newton, New Jersey, to my house in Stillwater, New Jersey, driving at 40 miles per hour down the road, all of a sudden, this illumination comes to my mind, and I pull the hands off the steering wheel and say to myself, by putting my eye towards the eye, say, oh my God, I said, I would like to have another child so I can say, God, this soul is for you. Even so, I knew that doctor told me I cannot have any more children, but I pray for the impossible. To me, to have another child would be the glorifies of a glory into a glory. By saying that, when I opened my eye and I realized I was in the car it was steering very well in the center of the road while I was not touching the steering wheel. Somebody was taking care of my car. Within 2 weeks, my wife got pregnant and we had another baby. And that baby is called Emanuela. It was the greatest feeling I ever had in my life with a third child, because I knew that was my miracle child. That was the completion of the miracle. I was super, super blessed and stuff like that. However, one day on the same road where I pray to have the child, go in different direction, a thought came to my mind. And I was thinking about my parents, that they were living in Italy. And I say to myself, I say, my goodness, if my mother were to die first, my father wouldn't last a week. He couldn't do nothing. He couldn't take care of himself, anything like that. He would be gone very quickly. But if my father dies first, my mother, yes, she could last another 2, 3, 4 years where she can take care of herself and stuff like that. And then I'm like, shook my head. I said, what kind of thought are coming through my head? I said, these are no good. I shouldn't think like this. I gotta go to work. I got things to do it. And I went to work. Well, 4.5 hours later, got a phone call from my wife that she didn't know how to tell me that something happened in Italy to my father. And I told her, say no more. I know what happened. It came to me this morning in a very bad thought, and I will go to the funeral. I'm leaving now. And I went to the funeral. I spent a week with my mother to keep her company, but then I had to come back to United States to take care of my family, my business, and my own stuff. 2 years later, I received another phone call from my brother saying my mother, she's not feeling well, and she's in a hospital. We don't know whether she's going to come out dead or alive. I say, okay, I understood. I'm on my way. Jump on the first plane and went to see my mother. I got there the day after. found my mother in a hospital, conscious. We talk, we chat, saw my brother. She was intubating, so she couldn't talk that clear. And we all kind of knew that was the end. However, I was praying God to take her as quick as possible because I didn't want to see her suffering. She was suffering, and I did not want to see her suffering. On Friday morning, 7 a.m., she passed away. I believe it was April 27 or 29, something like that. I don't remember exactly the date. She passed away. And at the same time that she passed away, I felt a special touch over my head that I still feeling now. And I thought it was somebody must have let something fall on my head. When I put the lights on, there was nothing. I went back to sleep. And 1 hour later, the phone started ringing. And when I jumped and answered the phone, it was one of my brother telling us mother was dead, that she passed away at 7 a.m. Immediately, I knew that that touch was from my mother saying goodbye. We did the funeral on that Sunday, 3 days after. My sister from the United States, from New York, came back for the funeral. She arrived Sunday morning. The funeral was Sunday afternoon. At the funeral, something very important happened. When it was time to seal the casket, the funeral director asked her if anybody wants to put something into the casket. I immediately replied, yes, I want to put a rose to my mother because she loved the flower. And so after that, everybody put some flower. My sister Natalie asked me, Carmelo, she made a statement, Carmelo, it would be nice if we would put the booklet where my mother, she used to keep all the phone number into the casket. And I said to my sister, are you crazy? I was making a joke. Are you crazy? Who knows if then our mother has nothing to do on the other side, and one by one she's going to start calling us. I said, that's not good. I said, no, that is not going in. And nobody objected to that. We sealed the casket. I left it to the United States the day after, in the morning. When I was in the United States, well, a few weeks later, I started had a dream about my mother. Called me to go on the other side because it was better on the other side, she told me. And in a dream, I questioned my mother. Mother, are you trying to tell me to come and live in Italy because it's better, or to come where you are now? Because if you're trying to tell me to come where you are now, I am sorry, but I am not ready to come where you are now. So I'm going to have to stay here on a hurt. And I will wake up. A little more time goes by. Excuse me. And I had another dream. This time was always at 7 o'clock in the morning the dream will start. This time it's like if I departed from my body and started going up into the sky. And all of a sudden I reach a gate similar to a Greek temple, surrounded by white cloud. And when I finally reach and step into this gate, on the right side there was a man with long beard, nice set of hair, and a set of keys, long dress, and a pair of sandals. My mother was standing a little on the side, close to the center of the door, waiting for me. And when I went there, she gave me the hands, and home, we started walking. And while we were walking, she started describing me where were we. And as we started describing, all of a sudden, I felt this extremely torturing, painful on my body that pulled me flying backwards to the door and gone back into my bed and wake up. That painful came from my wife because she grabbed me because she was trying to wake me up and I would not respond. And then she decided to grab me on my private spot in a very strong way. And I felt the pain that way, and I woke up. When I woke up screaming. And I complained to my wife not to do that ever again, because I was talking to my mother, and I needed to continue to talk to my mother. And I did not want to be disturbed. It was very intense in the conversation. Well, 2 weeks later, the same thing happened again. And I went back up the same way. I see the same man, the same door, the same man, my mother dressed the same way, wait for me at the same spot. However, this time, we had a very long, beautiful, lovely conversation. She showed me where my zia Ida, and Ida was Aunt Antonietta. And this other stuff that I saw while I was there was unbelievable. And all of a sudden, we started walking more deeply and deeply into this space that looks just being on top of a cloud. Very peaceful. And all of a sudden, I noticed on one spot that there was one spot dark with a little almost black hole or black door, but more like a black hole. And I said to my mother, "Where is that?" And she said, "Oh, do not worry. Now we're going to keep walking and we're going to go there and I'm going to show you where is that." And then I said to my mother, I said, "Mother, you know what?" I said, "Listen," I say, "I think it's better. Unfortunately, I have to get going because I can't really stay here and you to show me everything that you want to show me, because really down there now they're worrying very bad about me, so I must go back." And she says, "Okay, then you may go back." And she walked me back to the door. And when she walked me back to the door, as I am on a step, she let me go. And the moment that she released my hand, I kind of fall down and back into my body and wake up. When I wake up on the bed, that was where my very surprise was. I found on my right side, close to my head, my wife. Next to her was my older daughter, Antonella. Then was the dog, Gizmo, my little girl, Emanuela, and my son, Antonio, at the edge of the bed. And as I open my eye and I look at them, all of them, and I say to them, I say, "What are you guys doing on my bed like this?" And she said, "You be immobile for over an hour and a half, and I've been watching you." And I was just about to make the decision to call the police because we were all thought you were dead. You were not moving, you were not breathing. And I say to her, I says, "Oh, thank you for not trying to wake me up because I got a lot of things that I want to share with you." And she said to me, "Okay, you look fine, So then let me send the kids at school so they can all go to school now. And then when I come back, you can tell me all about. When she came back, she said to me, please, I am so afraid. Please don't tell me anything because I'm just so afraid of you. And I just did not tell that anything anymore. I continue to visualize my mother many time. But after that, my wife, she changed. She changed in a way that we had to get divorced. Divorce was inevitable. She just changed so that I did not recognize my wife anymore. We also had a lot of problem after my mother died with the state in Italy. There was a lot of argument between brother and sister. And as this argument they go by, often I was thinking, how can my mother left so much stuff unsolved and we have to argue now? I was wondering if there was a way that she could give a message to give him the truth. And another time she came into my dream and I questioned her if she knew how much money she left down. And she said, I don't remember. Unfortunately, someone would have to go and count it. I can't go. And I said, okay, we will deal. As the stuff they go by, the last vision, the last time that my mother came into my dream, she was sitting close to a bar at a stool. And when I questioned her why things happen to us, to our brother and sister, she replied to me, I am sorry, I cannot long help you. And by saying those words, our image, all our image disappear. She frantumat. She became like a bunch of little glasses, and she disappeared. And I woke up. That was the last time I dreamed of my mother. My wife Love, unfortunately, has terminated in a very sour, sad way. My self, my sibling, no matter how much I try personally to put peace and found a solution for everybody, there is still one or two people very unhappy into the situation that we don't know how to control anymore, and what is going to happen with the estate, with all my mother's sacrifice to better improve the children. So, as of today, maybe I need to write another book. In another few months, to start writing another book. But this is the story of a life of an humble believer blessed by a destiny. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to try to synthesize the story in this video, and I really hope I did the best to make you understand what the story is all about. Of course, the book, it's very detailed, and it could give a much better envision of what will happen. But thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you to the producer. Thank you for everyone that will listen to this video, and hopefully we can together be successful. On my side, if anything will happen, just like the book is selling, all profit that comes from the book goes to the church. It's not for me, but it's for the church. Thank you again, and many blessings to everybody.